to my channel. So guys, the beginning of this year I said I was going to read 2 books every month and review them, and so for January I was not able to do that. I was only able to read 1, but February I was able to read 2. So I'll basically be reviewing the books that I read. I read Mind in the Making by Ellen Galinsky, and I really liked the book because she basically highlighted the 7 essential skills that every child needs. But if you ask me, I really don't think those skills are just for children. I think anybody who really wants to improve could actually use those skills to, you know, further improve yourself. And also, if you think about it, people would say that a book is basically regurgitating commonplace knowledge, things that you already know. Yes, it might be commonplace knowledge, it might be things that you already know, but I actually think that if you keep reading, if you read something, it stays in your mind, you work upon it, you know. So to me, I really think the book was good, really. It's basically for parents, people in early child development, or basically anybody who's enthusiastic about children and development, child development. Yeah. Let's delve in. Okay, so in the book, she basically discussed, at the end of each chapter, she discussed strategies on how to improve upon the skills she talked about. And so the 7 skills that she shared in the book that I'm going to talk briefly on. Number 1 is the focus and self-control. And so focus and self-control, basically she was trying to talk about focus is the ability to pick up a goal, right? Or I really want to achieve this at the end of this year, I want to do this, I want to do that. So that has been having focus, right? Then self-control is the ability to see through. So you pick up something, no matter what happens, if you get bored, is your capability to be able to see through to the finish of anything you started. If anything you've started is focus on self-control, basically. So it's actually a skill that people need, children need, everybody needs to be able to navigate life. And so she also, I think also flexibility is there, because being able to adapt to different situations, you know, if something happens, and also knowing that when you fail or when things are not as rosy as it seems, you're going through something and it's no longer interesting, you want to drop it and move to the next thing. No, you have to finish it. You know, I think sometimes that thing happens to me. Maybe if I'm reading a book, I pick up a book, I'm reading this book and it's not so interesting anymore, I'll drop it, I pick up the next one. So you see, before reading like 8 books at the same time, and so I had to stop that. I was like, you know what, even if this book isn't interesting, the point is that I've picked it up and I must finish it, you know. So yeah, that's focus and self-control. The second skill she talked on was perspective taking. So perspective taking is basically the ability to know what goes on in someone else's mind, you know, so how someone thinks, how someone feels about something. So I think this is actually very, very useful in resolving conflicts, because if you can put yourself in someone else's shoes, then you can understand how the person feels or how the person is going to relate to something. Number 3 skill was communication. So it's basically the ability to understand what someone is telling you, and also being able, it's the ability to tell someone something and in a way that will be understood by that person. So basically communication. How do you communicate with people? It's not necessarily how do you communicate with people so that you're understood and the person is also understood, so you don't have a barrier you don't have a barrier. 4th skill she talked about is making connections. It's the ability to use information that you have, you know, to build upon something, be able to categorize the information. So you have immersed in taking a lot of information, your ability to make, okay, this relates to that, this relates to that, you know, being able to pull from your bag of information and use it when it's actually needed is the ability to make connections. Critical thinking. So critical thinking actually is the heart of all the executive functions, the life skills, because it borders on focus and self-control. It draws from critical thinking, it draws from making connection, it draws from communication and perspective taking. So in critical thinking basically it's the ability, so in a world that is immersed with so much knowledge, the ability to be able to distinguish from what is good and what is bad, talk about your own values basically. So that's basically what critical thinking is really all about. Then taking on challenges was the 6th skill, and taking on challenges is the ability for a child to be able to work harder, take on something and work hard on it. And so because we live in a world where people are being praised for everything they do, everybody's always looking for affirmation. Did I do this well? Did I not do that well? Everybody's always wants someone to pat them on the back and say, okay, you did that well, that was such a good job. So in taking on challenge is the ability for a child to be able to withstand stress, because there's going to be stress. So the ability to withstand stress, your ability to work hard on something. And also she also talked about praising a child's efforts and strategies, not praising the child's personality, the child's intelligence. So instead of telling the child you're so smart, you'd rather say something like you worked really hard on something. So I think that's actually a very good skill. Last skill was self-directed, engaged learning. Is the ability to keep learning, just keep learning, So yeah, I really think that was a very good book. And yeah, I've actually been reading a lot of parenting books lately, and I really would think this was good. Really, this was good. So yeah, so I also read Defending and Parenting Children Who Learn Differently by Scott Steele. And so I actually didn't plan on reading this book. Like, nobody told me about it. I just saw it and I was like, oh, this book is interesting, I should get it. And so what was interesting was I knew Thomas Edison was behind finding the light bulb, motion pictures, photograph and all that, but I never knew that he had some learning challenges as a child. Like, that was very interesting. Like, I was intrigued, so the book basically was trying to say that if Thomas Edison was born at this time, people would characterize him as having ADHD. But his school teacher said he was a dunce, and his father regarded him as being mentally retarded. But his mom didn't stop at that. She said, she was going to train this boy and she was going to bring out the best in him because she believed in her son. And so she started homeschooling Edison. Yes, of course, Edison was a problem. He would perform experiments that would almost kill him and things like that, He couldn't focus on one particular thing. He had different experiments going on at the same time, So that's part of ADHD. Different experiments, like 50 or so at the same time. He draws from different knowledge and it's like, oh, this is the work that did not work with. But anyways, it was interesting because he highlighted a lot of resources that could, and tons of organizations that could actually help people who have children that do not follow conventional methods, and how to go about it, how to advocate for them, the different laws for them, and how you can use it, So I think that was actually a very good book. And yeah, some of the things there you might say, oh, maybe you've read it before or you know about it, but it was actually a good book. So because for one, I didn't know about Edison's learning challenges, and that was very, very interesting for me to actually read about it. I know about Einstein's learning challenge, but I didn't know about Thomas Edison. That was interesting actually. So you might also want to read the book. I actually also picked up another book, The Secrets of Happily Married Women, and this is by Scott. This book was that was a light read. Like, I really like it, was enjoyable. Like, I think I read it like in 2 days. And why I liked this book was because I liked the male's perspective from it. I liked that there was humor. Like, he wasn't so serious about it. the topics basically he thought about the book was the topics were like how to fight better, how to know your man, what happiness is, you know, and a couple of other things that was highlighted in the book. And I think that for the most part, I liked the know your husband part. So there was a survey on how to know if you actually know your husband, know your man, basically. And so yeah, that was very, very useful. And you know what you score, and you know how to improve upon whatever you're doing. So that was actually very, very useful. And also I liked how he talked about what happiness is not in marriage. Not necessarily trying to define what happiness is, but basically trying to say what happiness is not. So basically you're trying to compare and say happiness is supposed to be holding your hand on the beach and walking down, or ability for us to be able to share the house chores and all that. It was basically directed at telling you what happiness is not, so that you don't set yourself up for failure in your marriage. And I also liked how he talked about women talk less, how women should talk less, you know. Yes, women. And he talked about why men talk less and women talk more, and how when you're communicating to a man, you should just go directly straight to the point and just stop beating about the bush and telling him everything, you know, and how to know when to talk to the man and how men feel about different things. I actually think that was actually a very good read. It was interesting. And so yeah, so guys, these were the 3 books that I read for the month